With the XDefiant beta now having come and gone, we're now left waiting for the announcement of the full release of the game for later this summer. While no ETA is given just yet, it still isn't stopping the XDefiant team from spilling the beans, and as cool as it is, having the community help design a driving force of the progression system in XDefiant a little after the launch itself. So in this video today, we're breaking down what you need to know that's new in the discussion here for XDefiant's prestige system and further rewards. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things XDefiant, Modern Warfare 2, all things FPS as we gear up for what the future holds. I'd love to have in the community if you'd like to join. And finally, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel for 30% off certain items like hype sauce tubs and starter kits in the month of June, but more on them in a bit. For now, let's jump into it. So the XDefiant beta gave us a really good indication of a lot of stuff. Mostly what's coming at launch, of course. The weapons, attachments, modes, maps, all that was revealed through this open beta, and I do like what we've seen so far. However, there's a handful of things that have been confirmed to come after launch, and one of the biggest ones is that of a prestige mode to the progression for XDefiant. Now, there is no genuine sort of ETA on this. The best assumption, though, is looking like that year one, season 1 launch after the 6-week preseason of the launch window of the game, but nothing is final. That's just assumption, speculation at this point. With that, it's been said that Mark Rubin and co are working on a classic prestige system. Now, up until recently, we didn't know what that would entail, and truthfully, we still don't have a finite answer, but we do know some relative framework that Ubisoft and the team are working on and considering. In a tweet, Mark Rubin proposed the following: I saw some thoughts on prestige from players. We've been aiming at a classic system that stops at, say, 10, but I've seen comments about adding more levels every season. Not resetting, just adding more. So, what do you think? And included a poll within that tweet for either a classic 10 prestiges or an option for levels to be introduced every single season, sort of a la Black Ops Cold War, Vanguard to a degree, and Modern Warfare 2 now, where we don't even have a seasonal reset of any kind, but instead just adding prestiges. But the result of said poll tallied to just over 71% of respondents wanting a classic 10 prestige system that stops at 10 prestiges and doesn't see the introduction of any more after that, and only 28.5% wanting new levels every single season. So seems the sentiment is there for a classic prestige system, and I'm here for that. Now, personally, if I could interject my side option, I'd quite like the ability to grind levels after a 10th prestige of sorts, where you have that reset for 10 prestiges, but nothing really outside of that. And sure, maybe this is kind of like a middle ground between both options per se, but honestly, I really loved what we had within Black Ops 3 and games alike. Black Ops 3, World War 2, stuff like that, where after you've completed those first 10 prestiges in that sort of base progression system, you had 1,000 levels you could chase after that, so that you could go as far as you wanted, or to a degree, I guess, which, if that's another thing that could be an option, is maybe an infinite level progression at that point, where you have those 10 prestiges, but then you can just rank up infinitely beyond that. So you could come in contact with a level 20,000 or something like that if they were a true hardcore grinder, probably about like a year after the case, if not later, but you get the picture here with that. Additional side options here for grinding, though, if you were to limit it to just 10 prestiges, also came up where it would offer additional grinds for players that still wanted to do a little more. Things like faction prestiges, weapon prestiges, and more. Personally, I'd be all for that kind of stuff, if not just even adding on top of that a level 1000 grind or something after the classic 10 prestiges. I'd be all for that because I feel like in recent years it's been kind of lost in regards to the COD grinds by comparison. I mean, we have our camo grinds and everything like that, we have our weapon level grinds, but you don't have anything that really has the sense of resetting and accomplishment that comes along with that. You don't have those prestige resets that you could do manually. You have to wait for a new season to end up ranking up your overall rank more. You only have so many weapon camos you can end up doing. You don't have weapon prestiges where you can end up grinding out a weapons level multiple times if you wanted to for extra rewards on top of that. But I mean, to have all of that kind of stuff on top of a classic prestige system with another level on top of that, like a level 1000 or whatever, it'd be great with ample amount of things to grind out for those that truly want to grind out the game. It's of course obviously not restrictive to the casual players, but instead offers more avenues for potential rewards. And that's one thing that I'm hopeful that this game will end up including, is worthwhile items. And that seems to be the sentiment around the discussion as well, that whatever you do, just make it worthwhile here for the player. Because right now within, say, a comparative Call of Duty space, you're not really rewarded too much for caring about grinding out ranks or anything like that. Yes, there is some stuff very minimal that you can earn, but it's not anything too exciting or anything that really makes you want to, from an outside perspective looking in, being like, oh, I want to go and do that. So fingers crossed we have something here that kind of accommodates that as well. Now there's also, beyond the prestige system talks, some talks of potential streak rewards here with this, where it was mentioned beforehand that XDefiant doesn't want to take that COD formula of just kill streaks. That was one of the things that they wanted to deviate from, just like how we don't have prone in XDefiant as well. In that case, to not slow down the gameplay too much, but in the case of kill streaks, there was no real reasoning given, but they didn't want to sort of just emulate COD. They want it to be its own thing. So in that sense, kill streaks really aren't in the cards right now, but it was mentioned by Mark Rubin the following though. We don't want to just put your typical COD kill streaks in the game, but we are thinking outside the box for ways to reward and celebrate streaks. I thought a reactive camo idea from this thread, referencing the tweet beforehand, was pretty cool. And I think that'd be a really unique way of offering a reward if they do end up going that route, where just like the bloodshed armor from Advanced Warfare way back in the day, that was something that hopefully it's not timed and something you end up having to re-unlock every time you get a 5, 10, 15 streak or something like that, like you did in Advanced Warfare, but tying it to streaks in that regard where it challenges the player to go a little further in gaining a higher kill streak than before. If we could end up getting a reactive camo or some sort of collectible as a permanent unlock for getting a 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 streak or something like that, I think that'd be really cool to end up seeing, and honestly, I know I would absolutely go for it. Now, maybe that slows down the pacing a bit if there is rewards tied to specific high tier kill streak rewards, but at the same time, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue that it will slow the game down to like a snail's pace or entice camping. We'll just have to see how that all plays out, but that's a different and outside the box way, as mentioned, to look at that, and I think it's pretty cool. But anyways, those two things aside, one thing that I want to touch on here is that I do really think that the way this is being handled right now, XDefiant is kind of turning out to be what I would say a love letter to the arcade shooter, in my opinion. Like, how many other AAA games are asking directly the community, hey, what could we and what should we add to the game? And then perhaps seeing it actually acted upon. I mean, we heard that kind of discussion here back with COD Next and stuff like that, but that was kind of in bad faith, if you ask me. None of the stuff we ever gave feedback on ever made it into the game. So that kind of stuff, seeing it now actually acted upon and being something that the community has a helping hand in building the game and the developers seemingly welcome that, I love that, dude. That is so cool to see, and I'm a really big fan of that. So we'll see how much actually does come to fruition here with this, but at least as of right now, looks pretty promising. Now, that said, before we wrap everything up, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel. Code Espresso, get you 20% off all items all the time. But for June, we have 30% off things like Hype Sauce, Hibiscus Tea, MS Melon, and more tubs, as well as starter kits. So if you haven't tried G Fuel before, now is as best a time as any to start, with their starter kits being discounted. Can't go wrong there. And of course, plenty of tubs on offer. But if you're interested, link in the description below, and make sure to use code Espresso. But that's where we're going to wrap the video up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like the sound of a classic prestige system? Do you want to see something like a middle ground between adding levels or prestiges in a seasonal sense? Would you like to see that middle ground of like 10 prestiges and 1,000 levels after that? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things XDefiant, Modern Warfare 2, anything FPS related, we got you covered here on the channel. So if you're new, stick around. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.